these lovely swivelly babettes. We color coding. So yeah, this year for Cape Town Furniture Week, we want to bring a little taste of Danish life to you. We want to talk you through what it means, what does Danish design mean, and what are the roots of Danish design? Why is it important? Why is it relevant? And as John already introduced the panel, we've got Laura here, who is recently been given the honor of being the consular for the Kingdom of Denmark, and Joel as well, who's our general manager in Joburg in our flagship showroom in Cromwell. So we're going to have a few conversations around what it means, what does Danish design mean, but not only in terms of furniture and an aesthetic. It's a lot more than that. What does that Danish design principle mean? Where does it come from? And what is the Danish design philosophy? We're going to explore that with Laura, and then also Joel's going to take us through what it means to our audience. We'll talk about it globally, because we're a global brand, but we're also going to talk about it in the relevance of our South African furniture market here, how we are transforming the market, creating some changes we think for the best, and giving people an option that they never had before. So I think let's kick off with Laura. Maybe you can take us through a little bit about what does it mean to be Danish. There's a book here on hygge. Who knows? Does anybody know what hygge means? Have you heard the word before? And it means cozy. Anyone else know hygge? I've read the book and I've heard a lot of explanations, and I still don't know how to pronounce it, and I'd love to hear from a Danish person.
We do that. Thank you so much for having me. I really was very happy when I was asked to come here today. I enjoy your company, I enjoy your presence here, so let me start with that. Hygge is cozy, you're right, but it's a hell of a lot more than that. It is, it's an atmosphere, it's a way we are together, a way we are comfortable together in Denmark. And you probably have it, I know it, I've been here 33 years, so I know we can also hygge here, but there's something about a woolen sock and a fireplace and mulled wine and just hanging out either by yourself with a good book or with the people down here, or with good friends. It can also be over a glass of wine, it can also be ice skating, anything can be hygge, but it's enormously important that you're comfortable when you have hygge.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's also, it touches on the feeling of something rather than just an aesthetic. When we're talking about Danish design, we're not looking at just a purely aesthetic, a shape, clean lines. I mean, when we talk about Danish design, often you think about clean, minimalist lines, pleasant living, quiet living, but it's a lot more than that. It's how does something feel? What's the sensation of living with it? You know, the tactility of the sofa that you're sitting on. Maybe it's just that feeling of I'm coming home and I'm going to sit in that chair that's next to the fire. It makes me feel great. Or I'm going to sit in my favorite lounging pajama lounge on the Daphne sofa there, and I'm just going to feel so relaxed. So it's the feeling that embodies that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell maybe a little bit about history and Danish design? Because I've got, last night I just thought, I've got to sound clever tomorrow. I've never been in design as such, but I realized it's something that's in our DNA in Denmark. We are, back in hundreds of years ago, we've always had craftsmen, like any country, of course, but the craftsman was also always the designer. So it was one in the same and not two different people. Another thing was, and what really kicked off what we today know as Danish design, was right after the Second World War, where we were, on our knees, and we didn't make a lot of money in Denmark. And there we then used that craftsmanship and the way we were clever about functionality. So design in Denmark actually is rooted in form and in functionality and in practicality and something that will last. It's it's not so much, get me right, something that looks pretty, and certainly not short term. It has to be something we can pass on to the next generation, preferably. And I know it from our own family. I mean, my mother and father went to school for 7 years each, and he was a mechanic and she was a seamstress. And how my parents would save up for a rather expensive lamp, a pH lamp, we call them in Denmark, because it was just in our DNA that we want something good, but then one of us sisters would take over because it will last forever. So there's that whole thing about actually wanting things to be practical, functional, first and foremost. And then, yes, we can call it Danish design, but it's in that functionality. Yeah.
I think you touched on a really important point there about craftsmanship as well, and that's a central theme to our Furniture Week as well. When we're talking about craftsmanship in the Danish sense, we're not talking solely about production. And often when we think about craftsmanship, we're thinking, how is something made? But the Danish philosophy on that is, as you say, the designer is such an integral part of the craftsmanship phase, because the designer so intimately understands the materials and the production process. How is something made? And they design a product with intention. They're thinking about functionality. How's it going to work? They're innovative in the way that they design. I'll give you a few examples after this, but I think the important thing is that our designers are not sitting in an office in Copenhagen drawing sofas and then sending it off to the factory to be produced. It absolutely doesn't work like that. They're very much working with what they call the skilled hands of the top teams in the factory, working together to produce a sofa. So the Paula modular sofa that you're sitting on here, the 3-seater version of this, won a Red Dot Design Award in Germany 3 years ago. And it was created with the designer and the team, the manufacturer, building it together. And it's a phenomenal partnership. It's a close partnership. And design cannot be removed from the production in the Danish sense. And then functionality we've touched on as well. When we're looking a lot at modular sofas, we're all very familiar with modular sofas as a way forward. They provide a lot of options, but just simple little touches to it. The way that they connect together, for example, or the way that the footrest is designed with the exact same depth of the sofa so they can fit together, and you have a lot more versatility in the type of modular series that you can create. So if you have a lot of people over, you can extend your modular sofa quite easily, or you can change the configuration. So again, it's a reflection on the way people live, and that functionality that was born out of post-war era when they had to be functional, they had to make sense of things. Yeah.
Maybe just on the history again, so that post-war. And that was, of course, in Denmark, so it became very famous or whatever, it became a thing there. But it only really became international when we call it the mid-century design, of course, and so on. When Nixon and JF Kennedy were in their presidential debate in 1960, they were sitting in Wegner chairs, another famous Danish design, and instantly millions of Americans saw this and thought, we want that chair. This is what, and this stages like that, that's when it happened, and it went ballistic worldwide, and has since.
And I feel like we're on another kind of growth phase in terms of the presence of the Danish design now. It's become a very relevant form of design globally. It's very much in demand. Maybe to give you some indication of where we've come from as a brand, we're only 14 years old as a brand. It was started by 2 designers who have this passion not only for design, but also for sharing the design. Another cornerstone of the Danish culture is that everyone should have the ability to live beautifully. We should value these things. We should value a sofa. We should look for investment pieces that lasts a lifetime that we can pass on. And a big part of our founders' philosophy 14 years ago was that we need to be able to make design and designer sofas more accessible, more affordable. So instead of maybe spending, let's say in rand terms, 100,000 rand or 150,000 rand on a 3-seater sofa, can we not produce that sofa for 25 or 30,000 rand without compromising on the quality of the sofa or the integrity of the materials? And I think that was a huge part of the success of the company over the 14 years. We now have, from one showroom in Denmark 14 years ago, we now have 37 showrooms across Europe, plus 2 here in South Africa. And financial year end last year, I think we finished on 544 million Danish kroner, which is 1.4 billion rand as a company. So we've grown extensively, and I think part of the growth that's been driving that is this demand for something more, something better. I think people are more discerning in their tastes, and what we're trying to do globally is offer people the option of having something in between top-end designer sofa and something that's maybe imported from China or locally made that maybe doesn't have the same design purpose behind it. Yeah.
That is spot on, and it just makes me realize. I also read yesterday, and it's so true, that Danish design is also a part of our democracy, because it's part of our equality and so on. In Denmark, we're more or less the same, all of us, and it mustn't just be for the elite. It has to be accessible, even to my parents who saved up for a lamp or something like that. It has to be accessible for everyone in order for all of us to have functional homes and lovely homes.
Yeah. And I think that positions very much what we're trying to do in the market. We want to bring better value to the market globally, and particularly here in South Africa. We want to be able to sell a swivel chair like this with 100,000 rug count fabric that's been beautifully made, crafted with an intention. It's fun. It's a little bit more exciting than a normal boring piece. It's a bit quirky. It exemplifies the Danish design elements in every bit of it for 15,999 instead of 50,000 rand. So we're very much about that. But maybe Joel would like to jump in and tell us a little bit about how you feel we're being perceived here in the South African market, and how you're working with your clients throughout South Africa, globally, Joburg and Cape Town as well, your designer clients and your retail clients.
Thank you, Gunther. What a hot day in Cape Town today. It's nice and warm. But I've been just speaking about the sun. But lovely to be in Cape Town as always, and just listening to Gunther and Laura speaking, and I was just thinking about, there's this golden thread going through the whole way through Denmark, all the way through Sofa Company, and just the way of Danish living. And I can really feel that spirit with us here today, just within the business, locally, internationally, any showroom that you walk in, whether it be South Africa, Denmark, Germany, anyway, it all just feels the same. You get that same sensation. And there's this phrase that comes to mind all the time whenever I think about design. I say design sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. It's yes, it's a golden thread. Sorry about that.
Joel was on the early flight this morning from Germany. He's been up since 3 a.m.
Yeah, I have been up. No, but it's just really the way a furniture piece makes you feel. You know that your design is successful when it's immersed into your life, and when a furniture piece goes from being a product into a place where your child sleeps at night. You know that the design was successful, and just moving into accessibility in the country. These days it feels like it's not either extremes. It's either mass-produced or unattainable for most, and that's where Sofa Company comes in to fill that gap with accessibility and just providing designer furniture to the masses. And by accessibility, it definitely doesn't mean that it's a lower standard, but it's just allowing more people to live with intention. And that accessibility literally trickles down into everything, the experience in the showrooms, just all the augmented reality access that we give to our clients, all the rendering that we have on our websites that our clients have access to. We want them to be immersed and have access to that designer level living that would normally be unattainable for most. And ultimately, but above the accessibility is really just the feeling. How does the furniture make you feel? You want furniture that, when you look at this piece after 5 years, it's still an amazing piece. You still love it. As South Africans, we live in a different way. We always hosting. We always have our loved ones over. We love to bride. We love to sit in the sun. We live in bigger spaces here. So there's a lot more room to design, to create, and have meaningful spaces, you know? And that's where the Danish way of living really, really resonates with us, because, you know, it's minimalist, but never cold. It's beautiful, but very practical. And you know, when something is made well and when it's beautiful, it doesn't need to shout. You know, it's just amazing, and it speaks for itself. You know, and it's really down to the craftsmanship. You know, down to the design. I think Gunther touched on it in terms of how a piece is made. You know, in South Africa, everyone's trying to make that rand stretch, and everyone's really thinking about how long is this piece going to last? Is this worth my money? And we're building those pieces where our clients can really invest in furniture, fewer better pieces that will last longer, that are more meaningful. And yeah, you know, with that craftsmanship comes a lot of responsibility to our clients. You know, we ensure that we guide them the correct way through the experience in our showrooms. You know, we try to ensure that they aren't making emotional, impulsive decisions, but rather informed decisions in purchasing the correct pieces. I like to use a five-step, what I call it, five-step process when I'm guiding a client. One, it's very important to be immersed in the sofa, much like yourselves, really feeling what it feels like before you make a decision. Once you found the right sofa for yourself, you can then move on to where it will fit in your space, and then the materials. Obviously, some people have children, you know, so it's very important to align everything. And most importantly, above all, will I love this piece after 5 years? You know, and that's what's really important for us. And we try to make meaningful furniture, meaningful designs that really appeal to the masses, and, you know, just keeping that golden thread and bringing that way of Danish living here in South Africa. Yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much for coming through, and yeah, I hope you can enjoy the furniture. Any questions? Myself and Nora will be happy to answer any of them.
Any questions?
Laura, I want to ask you a question, since you've been here for over 30 years and you're a native Dane. That's fine. How does the lifestyle in South Africa compare to Denmark? Because Nicole and I have spent a bit of time there going to sofa company meetings, and it's vastly different. So where does it marry? Because it does marry somewhere.
First of all, I can say, why do you think I live here?
My answer to that is touche.
And I'm lucky enough to work with a lot of Danish companies and Danes and whatnot, so I travel back and forth. I'm going next week, actually. I love going there. I love Denmark. But right now, it's -5, -10. It is so cold and it's so dark, and that's why we have hygge, you know. We need to be able to do that. But how does it compare and how does it marry? That's a good idea, good point. I think first of all, there's something there about trust and honesty, of course in your products, but also between people, which I actually, and a lot of people don't believe me when I say that, I actually find that in South Africans as well. We, in Denmark, I used to say our biggest commodity is actually trust, by far. We trust each other before we don't, not the other way around. You know, as an upfront, we trust each other. You see that in products as well. And then honesty around what you do, because if you don't do things honestly, in an honest way, you're not going to last long. I actually think that's the same with South Africans as well. And we might be known, you know, to some people about corruption and all sorts of other things, but bottom line, when you see South Africans interact with each other or us it's the most beautiful thing. I've often been asked, why do you live in South Africa? I mean, I can of course talk about the sunshine and the wine and the mountain and all of that. I love it, all of it. But number one, it's the South Africans. They are 100%. And I love it every single day. Any walk of life, you know, I love it. And we're much more open. Sorry, yeah, I'm getting away from your question. But we're much more open and curious about each other here in South Africa than we are in Denmark. We're a little bit more closed up. I mean, if we stand next to each other at the bus stop, we don't interact with each other in Denmark. But we do that here. That's for sure. I don't know if does that kind of rhyme.
I love how you
with-
say we here in South Africa.
100%.
I
I've been
think
here
you've
longer than I've
Given
lived
up
in
the
Denmark.
Danish roots.
Yeah.
I also think that integrity that honesty, I think that's a very important pillar of the Danish culture and certainly of our brand as well. You know, we don't do Black Friday sales, for example. We just feel that if we can bring a product to market at a price, let's give our best price all year round. Why inflate a price for most of the year and try and sell a product on people getting a feeling of 30% off, I'm getting a deal? It's not about that. Let's just give our best price all year round. And we also think, how would you feel if you bought a sofa and you spend 30,000 rand on a sofa and then it goes on a Black Friday sale and you've just lost 30% of your investment? It just seems like a dishonest way to do business. So we very much, in fact, Denmark ran a Black Friday campaign. I don't know if I can mention it, a few years ago.
So
A long
as
time
much as you
ago.
want.
Right across the homepage, FUCK Black Friday. That was the campaign, very direct, and just to say, we don't participate in that type of practice at all. It's honesty, it's integrity all year long or nothing else. And I think that's what it resonates with me personally. I love that approach. I love that we can be honest with our clients on the floor. I love when clients come in and they ask us how long until the sofa starts sagging, in 6 months, 12 months, and we look at them with a genuine shock of horror, and we're like, it's never going to sag, you know, it's built properly, you know, that type of thing. It's nice to be able to be part of a brand that has that integrity, I think, in this market. And we really are looking to change the way people think about the furniture market globally, but particularly here in South Africa. We want people to have better value, we want people to get a good deal, and to love the sofas they buy, to really form that bond with them, and for it to be meaningful and to add value to their lives, bring the hygge home. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? You must have questions.
I have a
Come.
question for Laura. You mentioned the PH lamp. So obviously being in the Danish interior design industry for 5 years, I know a lot about the Danish products, and the PH lamp is one of my favorites. And I completely got scrapped with one. That's very cool. But I wanted to know, what is your favorite Danish design product or chair?
Sofa company.
Obviously.
Wow.
A few of the others.
First, do you know the PH lamp was not designed to be beautiful? It's designed very specifically for you never ever to be able to see the bulb,
Yeah.
the glow, yeah, the bulb. Never ever, but to give that hygge light,
Yeah.
a perfect light as well. I've got one on my desk here in my office as well.
Amazing.
No, it's and I'll pass it on to my boys, you know, my sons, for sure. What's the best? I once dated a guy, an architect, when we were very young, back in Denmark. And he designed, just to actually give you an example of how important design is for us. He was an industrial designer, architect and industrial designer, and he designed the handle for the toilet doors in all our trains in Denmark.
Wow.
And that was an incredibly important job, you know, because it had to be the right way and it would last 30 years or whatever at least. And of course in stainless steel and something that's easy to clean hygienically. So design is not just furniture, I'm sorry, but it's not just, it's a lot of other things. Design is also how we have light in our schools and hospitals and how that works for us. So I must admit, maybe the PH lamp actually, also because I've got one,
Yeah.
and there's lots, there's so many.
I want to at reception. It's my next thing.
Exactly, that would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Just kind of make sure you.
Exactly. The golden thread.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Thanks. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hi, I have a question for Joe. What I heard you say earlier was, with clients, you work with them so that they can be fully immersed into the sofa. And I'm
Well, it starts from the part when they enter our showroom. They're welcomed with a lovely cappuccino. We allow them to walk through the space and just to see everything. Obviously, we'll be close by. I normally just ask them if they know about the brand, if they've heard about Sofa Company before. If they haven't, I give them a quick, brief explanation about who we are and what we do. And then most importantly, I just try to understand what they want from the space, how they want the space to feel, and just what they want. And then from that, we work forward. So they can. I always recommend that they take images of their space so that we can see the colors. Is it nudes? Is it grays? Is it pops of color? If they've got this sort of modern look, we can bring in a pop of color. We've got a lot of pop of color in our brand. So first we need to find out what their space looks like, what they want from the space. I had a client who came in the last time and she said, I want a purple sofa. And it was just so convenient because we've got this lovely new moss rust burgundy fabric, and when I showed it to her, she was just like, this is the one, and she placed the order. So it's just more important to listen, understand what the client's looking for, but most importantly, just ensure that this is something that will work in their space, and be honest. We don't sell furniture, we assist our clients in making intentional decisions and just good living. That's what we really pride ourselves on.
Thank you, sir.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, very well, thank you.
Also, thank you.
I also think we pay a lot of attention to our clients' body language when they're in the showroom as well. When something catches their eye and they see a shape or a form that they love and it resonates with them, we can see that, we feel that. Perhaps it's not in the fabric that they want to choose a different fabric. So we will support them in showing them and visualizing what that could look like, I think, as well, to inspire them. But it's very easy to see when people are in love with something and make that connection. Yeah. And we also try to, again, we're a very customer-centric business in the sense that everything we do, customers at the heart of our business. Every commercial decision we make is always with the customer's interest at heart. So we ask ourselves questions. We ask, what do our customers want from us? What kind of quality do they want? What kind of designs are they looking for? How are they using sofas? One of the big things clients want from us is they want stock now. Some people come to us and say, we're building a house, we need a sofa in 6 months' time. Great, that's 1 in 100. The other 99 people come in and say, we need a sofa tomorrow, okay? And that's why close to 80% of our range is in stock in our warehouse. We can deliver. If you want this configuration delivered to your house tomorrow, you can have it. I think, we really push, we set the bar high. We want our customers not to have any reason to say no to something. We think about every element of the step, every step of the way. We try and guide them, as Joel said, through the process of helping them to make the best decisions, to find the right pieces for them. And then availability is very important for us. We want to have those pieces available in 3 or 4 different color options, and then give them, on top of that, the ability to configure any of our pieces in any color that they choose, any fabric they choose.
Can you share a bit about how the augmented reality works? So if you can't make it to a showroom and you want to see a piece in your house, how does that work online?
Okay, we're quite a technically forward company for a young company, in that we try to integrate a lot of. It's very difficult to sell a sofa online. It's not like fashion. You can swipe through, you can imagine what something's going to look. You know your sizes for your brands. It's easy to shop. Sofas are a little bit more difficult to sell online because you've got to communicate what the quality is and how it's going to look in the space. So we introduced an augmented reality feature from the website. So if you browse sofacompany.com on your website, it'll pop up from your phone and all the images of our products, and you can just touch a button and it will position it to scale in your space, in the colorway that you choose. So if you've got an empty space and you're wondering, is this configuration going to fit there? Simply browse to that product, click on it, and it'll position it there to scale. You can walk around it and you can check it from all angles. Just don't sit on it. But it's there and you can see it and visualize it. So we try to bring the showroom to your homes. Online sales are becoming quite a huge chunk of our business. At the moment, probably 60 to 70% of our sales are through designers. I think people who are very discerning about the tastes, they have client reputations to uphold as well. They're very particular about quality, which we love. And online is becoming a growing element of our business, growing channel. I think people are trusting us. They're placing significantly larger orders online for sofas, which is good to see. And I think augmented reality plays a role there because people can actually visualize the product in their space. Any other questions? Okay. If there are no more questions, I just want to give a huge thanks to our panel for being here today, to Laura and to Joel for flying and catching that early morning flight. Joel's a minor celebrity after appearing on Goeiemorgen, Good Morning show, representing our brand with such passion. I want to say a huge thanks to everyone here for coming through and listening to our talk. I hope you found it a little bit informative, a bit insightful. You've learned a little bit about Danish design and about the relevance and what we're trying to do with the furniture industry here. And I want to give a big shout out to our team who are so passionate about what they do day in and day out. The love you guys bring to our brand and to our clients and to every interaction you have. It's very special to all of us, so thank you for that. And also a huge thanks to Celeste and her team for putting today together. And to Jana, thank you guys very much for today. It's been great, thank you. Right, let's have some bubbles. If you guys have any other questions, just grab us while we're around.